Nice call on that CHK short.
Yeah, we had a couple of those follow through yesterday.
And this morning, natural gas is the largest surplus we've had since 2003, and actually the second largest of all time since they've been keeping a record. So I
Wow.
can't imagine. Yeah, we just have such a surplus. We haven't had
Holy.
any kind of crazy.
Actually, a friend of mine, I went out to dinner with a friend of mine the other night, and he loves CHK because Carl Icahn keeps buying it. And I'm like, God, you got to give it a little more thought than that. You know,
Well, right, exactly.
there's Icahn and somebody else. I can't remember who the other. Oh, the actually it was insider buying. He was telling me, and he was so convinced. He was showing me charts on his phone.
And what was he seeing on his charts that made him a buyer when it held here down
Nah,
here?
he was just trying to justify his decision.
Oh, okay. Because
Yeah,
I
he
was
was.
gonna say,
Yeah, he wasn't. He wasn't really pointing out this is why I'm buying. He was just like pulling up a chart and saying it's due type of conversation.
I mean,
Eh,
look at that perfect chart. It gets some strength. It goes right back down.
Yeah,
Then
I
the
mean
next,
this is a.
the next wedge is lower than that. Goes back down. Another wedge lower than that.
Well, it's the first time it actually took out new 20-day lows with any kind of volume. I mean, the last 2 days. I mean, when you see this 3 days of consolidation and two really big candles on good volume, you're going to get some follow through there. The only interesting thing is to see if it bounces on this 20-day low breakout, which we've seen a lot of. But um, look, I understand why his thought process is, but that's he should know better. He's actually a little more experienced than the average person.
That's
And
why
I,
some of the eggs are holding up there. CF has just really held. If you bring up that chart, I mean, that's been holding up there at the highs now for 2 weeks. And natural gas, of course.
Actually, it's funny. I'm a big sci-fi person, and there was a show on like I think it was last year or whatnot. One of the bad guys in the show was doing stuff with like fertilizer, and they named the company that he stole the agricultural chemicals from San Manto.
Oh,
Yeah, it was pretty funny. I was watching it. I don't know, like, wait a minute, what did they just say?
oh my gosh, amazing.
It was pretty funny. It was a whole time travel thing. It was interesting.
Oh, Yoku, Inside Inside.
Yep, got that too.
Really nice one.
Yep. Yeah, we spend a lot of time discussing the relative strength and relative weakness type stuff, and I think a lot of traders miss these types of trades because they didn't, technically come up in a scan yesterday of, something exciting happening that would alert you to it. But I think that we've done a really good job over the last month of really, really digging in and showing the importance of having a tracking journal from day to day. And it should be the first thing you go to, before you even start to look for new ideas. You look to see if some of the ones are still valid, for lack of a better way of putting it. And you nailed it. I mean, this is really, really a solid idea here.
Yeah, this is great.
And, and
Yeah, Under Armour's got an upgrade this morning, William. So 91 price target.
wow, that's a big upgrade.
Yeah, look at that consolidation there.
Wow, wow.
So you
SanDisk. SanDisk is actually back on my radar after that $5 move to the upside.
oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
not on mine. That's a good one.
Yep. I think right back into the tight consolidation, looking for volatility, and I think the fact that it failed so obviously at that move higher, I would not be shocked if we have an explosion to the downside there.
Well, yeah, I have to agree with you there.
Why,
That
thank you.
well, we trade very similarly, so I'm going to guess that's probably why I also agree with you.
Yep, yep, yep. I'm actually very excited. I actually started working on the course to uh, go over the daily charts like you and I and analyze them, and I'm actually calling it tape reading the stock market. Because I think people can get lost in indicators, and the way that you and I and we have to preface this for everybody. We never traded before, which I think is very interesting. How
With each other,
similarly,
with each other, we never did.
yeah, it's actually fascinating. But I've always been a student of classic everything, like classic business principles, classic trading. You can definitely get lost in all the technology and whatnot. And no matter what, it does all boil down to price action and volume.
Right. And the other is just really like confirming what you're thinking. And you can't use too many of them because there's something out there called analysis paralysis.
Yep.
And you won't do anything because the indicators are fighting each other. So you're like, okay, then there's nothing to do. When really, if you peel them all away and you take just a few that can just add to your thought and not run over it.
Yeah, I find when you keep your analysis simpler, it's easier to have better conviction.
Yep, I agree, William. eBay is one of the big ones worth watching today.
I read a good book a couple of years ago. Do you ever see the stories about like the blackjack players, like the ones that like took over the casinos a few years ago before they realized they were card counting and whatnot?
Oh no, I didn't.
Oh yeah, it's fascinating.
I don't know much about it.
Yeah, they were all students from MIT actually.
Oh, that's right. I do remember my son telling me.
Yeah, and one of the guys wrote a book called The House Advantage, and essentially it's a book about probabilities, but it talks about the stock market a little bit, but it's obviously more about blackjack and whatnot. And it's actually very relevant to this conversation because most of the book is about developing an edge, and once you set the edge up, you have to confidently trade it with conviction because you have to hit on certain hands and that kind of stuff in blackjack. It is a statistical game, very much like any casino. It's the reason they don't have one table. They have hundreds of tables because they want their probabilities to play out as fast as possible.
Right.
So anyway, in the book, there's something he mentions called confirmation bias, and essentially it's that you see what you want to see and then you justify it. Yeah, exactly, William. That was actually one of the books that it was built from. What's the name of the? I can't think of the author's name, but Bring It Down the House was the book that the movie 21 was made about. But all of those, I think the author's name was William Ma, if I'm not mistaken. He was one of the blackjack players. But the point I want to make is what we were just discussing about the charts is, confirmation bias is you start to see what you want to see. So in other words, you're not actually seeing how the cards are unfolding or how the market's unfolding. You start to justify what you want to see, and then you like make it happen. And the more stuff you have on your screen, it's so much easier to justify something to confirm what you want to see. So the fewer things you have on there, the easier it is to say, no, this is all I'm looking at, and I don't need to look, three things. Like, I don't know if you've done it in the past, but like when if you've had MACD and RSI and a whole bunch of other things, like you get confused at some point.
Right. I watch basically the candles, volume, and volatility.
Yeah, me too. Exactly. Yeah, so that's fascinating stuff because it's actually relative to the market. So we might as well start out with eBay. That was God, my typing. Just need a bigger.
So wait a minute, that doesn't look like the
I have to slow down a little bit. Mm-hmm. For multiple reasons. I mean, the way the market closed yesterday, the technical setup. Let's take the market out of the equation. This is a perfect technical setup on a breakout. Really good volume on the breakout. 3 days now of consolidation. But then when you add yesterday's very strong close relative to a market that got pounded on good volume, absolutely something to keep on the radar. So Excellent call there, William.
Then another thing to watch for today is the Under Armour with the upgrade to see if it can finally get out of the box that it's in.
Yeah, that's a pretty clean chart. I mean, the support level's perfect. The trading range is perfect. It's really just a question of when. And you can read whatever trading books you want. There's really only two cycles in the market. You're consolidating or you have an expansion in volatility, and you have to train your eye to recognize that. And then when you get that in the direction of an obvious trend, which this happens to not be in right now, you really have a clean picture of price action in your head, and then it's really just a question of trading your signals.
Right, exactly.
So go over some bullish ideas to start. We have quite a few bullish stocks that pulled back and are giving us an opportunity that we've been looking for. I mean, we've been discussing it for days now. If these stocks are going straight up, very, very difficult at some point to feel comfortable buying. And now we're getting, this is a $5 or $6 pullback, depending on where you're tracking the low there.